exciting video, friends, because we are visiting my alma mater, doing some exploring, and I'm very excited to take you along for the ride. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sheila. If you're new, I'm an archivist living and working in Pennsylvania, and today I am doing public speaking, visiting my old school where I went for my undergraduate degree, where I got my bachelor's in history. I've been doing this 4 or 5, I don't even know how many years at this point, but my mentor and professor from the school, we've kept in touch for 10 years at least now since I've graduated, and he has a introduction to public history class, and he likes to invite graduates to come talk about their careers in the public history field. So you have archivists, museum professionals, curators, park service rangers, librarians, teachers, lawyers, just anybody who has done something with their degree is invited to come share their experience with this class, and I love doing it. So the past few years I've done Zoom since the pandemic, and before that I've gone I think a few times, but yeah, we're going in person today. George and I are going. Fun fact, George and I met at our alma mater and fell in love. So this will be kind of a reminiscing trip down memory lane trip for us as well. And I'm hoping to do some book shopping. There's an amazing used bookstore there that I love. There's a record store there. We're gonna get some food, and then there's another used bookstore like on our way home that we want to go to. So it's a very bookish day in my life as an archivist, which is just the best kind of day, right? It's also rainy and gloomy today, which is not preferred, but we're working with it. It is spring. We are going into April. April showers bring May flowers. Here's a little behind the scenes of my PowerPoint. I have to have a PowerPoint, you guys. You know me. We need visuals to go along. So I did some updating last night just to swap out some old photos. I've done, I think, 2 work vlogs where I've shared my process of creating this PowerPoint and how my presentations went remotely on Zoom. So I'm going to link those down below if you want to kind of see past experiences of public speaking where I talk more about preparing and how it went and what I talk about. But my main kind of outline agenda is just sharing about me, my education, and my professional background, and also just about my job and what I do, and then what archivists do specifically, and career advice for any aspiring archivists. So I try and share what I share here on this channel with these guys in the classroom. So usually they get a lot out of it, at least my professor has told me, so that's reassuring. Also, I will plug this job posting page. I've talked about it again in those other vlogs, but thought I'd put it here in case anybody's new to the channel or hasn't seen that. But these are just kind of go-to links where I look for jobs and also encourage other aspiring archivists to look for. Archives Gig is like my #1. It's like a blog WordPress format where they just post job postings all over the United States and some international ones. INALJ.com is library and library information science jobs. That's what LIS stands for. That is even more robust than Archives Gig. You can get really in the weeds with job positions there. And they also have interviews with professionals, which is really interesting as well. And then these are more specific to Pennsylvania, since that is where I live and work and where I'm going to present. And of course, LinkedIn, word of mouth, and Indeed are all still good places to try and find positions. Voila! All right, I think I have like 15 minutes before I want to leave. So we gotta go get coffee. I gotta get gas, and then we have about an hour's drive, so welcome, let's embark, yay! Woo! Okay, hear me okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me. I don't know how many times I've been here. It's been 4, 5, 6 times. And I'm just going to talk about my career as an archivist. So just briefly about me and then what archivists do, and then just career advice for anybody that's interested in archives. Show of hands, anyone interested in being an archivist? Wow, okay, I feel like it's the most since I've been to these talks, so that's awesome. I always get asked like what's my favorite treasure at where we work, and I'm a paper person. I love manuscripts. So this is a private register from a pastor named Daniel Schumacher. So this is from the 1750s. So he would write out his baptisms that he performed and marriage records. And this guy is really interesting because to become a pastor, you have to go through a set of, steps, and you have to get voted on to be ordained, and it's a big process. This guy, he came over from Germany and just started performing baptisms. He was kind of an outlaw in that way, and he was also known as a drunk, and friends, the presentation is over. I didn't get very many questions because apparently that class is very quiet and they don't talk, and the class always gets out early. But I did my spiel. I had a few questions, and yeah, so we just went to the library, which is where I hung out the most when I wasn't in that building taking classes, and that was nice. Now we're off to get lunch and do some town exploring. Onwards. This is Jessie. We ran into an old friend. Fate brought us together. Do you have anything to say?
You too.
Yeah!
What a rose. That's cute.
think I'm gonna get this because I know I haven't read it yet. Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. And it's $8.50. Yay! It's a few days later. Thought I'd pop in at the end of the video with a little bookish chat of sorts, sharing the books that George and I picked up on our little trip out, which was super fun. I feel like I need to give a little bit more context to running into our friend Jessie, who you saw. We were all really great friends when we were in college 10 years ago. Jessie I considered one of my really, really close friends. Like, we hung out all the time, we went on adventures, we did a lot of things, and of course with time and moving and graduation, friendships kind of either stay together or they slowly drift apart, and that's kind of what happened with our friendship, which is totally normal. I actually met Jessie and George around the same time, and they were really good friends, and we just all, you know, hung out. I feel like the last time I saw Jessie was maybe like 5 to 6 years ago, like in person, and of course we follow each other on Instagram and try and keep up, but it's just not the same when you're not physically, you don't see each other in person, and of course the pandemic just shook a lot of friendship. So we walk into this burrito place, which was a place we used to go to all the time. It was a little bit like a 20-minute drive from the university where we used to go. I'm standing in line and I noticed this guy in front of us ordering, and then I like hear his voice and I'm like, is that Jessie? And George was like, yeah, like we were in shock because he lives in Brooklyn and we're like 2 hours from home. Like, what is happening? So we like screamed Jessie, and he like saw us and we like freaked out, you know, oh my god, what are you doing here, what are you doing here? And then we hung out and had lunch together. But he was on his way home driving from Baltimore to Brooklyn and was just in the area because he wanted to stop and, you know, do his own kind of trip down memory lane, because he used to go to the school that we used to go to, and it was just the most random fate. It was a random act of fate. Was it random? Was it a coincidence? Wow. That's all I have to say. So it was so good to see him and catch up. I'm still in shock. Like, why was he there? All right, now to books. So I didn't find anything at the bookstore in my school's town. There were books there that I would have bought. Like, I'm trying to find the second book in the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang, but they had it, but it was like new, and so they had like a mix of used books and new books, so I'm trying to find that book used. So we didn't get that, and there's a lot of other random books that I would have bought if they were used. The other thing with that store is that everything was just crammed in. Like, it was hard to pull books out to just look at them, and then they had like a whole nother row of books behind them. It seems like they're like running out of space. Location that they're in right now is like their second location. When it opened and we were still in school, it was at a smaller location across the street, so it's just like wild to me that they've grown so much and seem to be really successful. But yeah, it was kind of hard shopping for books because I can't pull them off, you know, and look at them. But I did find a book at the second used bookstore that we stopped at, which was on the way home, and it was Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. I've read Practical Magic and The Rules of Magic so far in this series by Alice Hoffman, and this one is about the Owens bloodline starting in the 1600s. It's about a family of witches. I've done, I think, a few reading vlogs reading the other books in the series so far. I like to keep an eye out for books that I know I'll be reading, and if they're at a used bookstore and a really good price, I'll just pick them up and add them to my bookshelf, knowing I won't read them now, but I will like down the road. So this kind of falls into that category of I'll probably read this more in the fall, like Halloween season, when it's witchy vibes. And George found 2 books. He found a manga called Hell's Paradise by Uji Kaku, and I think this is about an assassin. I've never heard of this. I asked George, what is this about? And he's like, I don't know. And on the back it just says that there's a vicious assassin, and I think that's kind of the plot around this one. And then he also got A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole, which apparently is a critically acclaimed, popular, really well rated, funny novel. I have no idea what this is or what it's about, but it's supposed to be like laugh out loud funny, and it was published in 1980, so it's been around. Let me know if you've heard of either of these, because I haven't. Now I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you the books that I read when I took this public history class that I went to go speak at, because I still have like all my books from undergrad and graduate school, I think. The ones that I bought, at least. These are not all the books, because I distinctly remember one book about Valley Forge National Historic Park, and I don't have it. I don't know if it's still in the box and I forgot to pull it out, or if somehow it got lost. Who knows? These are just 5 books I remember reading specifically for this class, because they have public history in the titles. Don't worry, I won't spend 20 minutes talking about all these books. I'm just gonna highlight a few of the ones that I distinctly remember having an impact on me. The first one being Private History and Public Exhibition and the Settings of Everyday Life by Tammy S. Gordon. So this class we took, public history, we not only learned about jobs that you could get with a public history degree, but also just explored museums and historical societies and historical interpretation in different settings. And I really resonated with private history in a public space. So this book specifically is about the history exhibits that complicate the public-private dichotomy, exhibits that serve to explain communities, families, and individuals to outsiders and tie insiders together through a shared narrative of historical experience. Tammy S. Gordon looks beyond the large, professionalized museum exhibits that have dominated scholarship in museum studies and public history, and offers a new way of understanding the broad spectrum of exhibition types in the United States. So I remember Tammy goes on this little like road trip, I think, through the United States and stops at different places that are acting as a museum, but in a very private, localized way. They're not a big funded proper professional museum. They're the local restaurant, they're the library, they're a family's home that have displays up of photographs and artifacts, maybe like bowling trophies of the local like bowling league. Churches fall into this category as well. I know a lot of churches that I've worked with or people I've spoke to have their own exhibits and display cases that show their history over time, and they're not a professional museum. And that's what I really love about history. I personally love studying marginalized local community, like the people that aren't in the textbook, the people that don't think that they're worth interpreting or don't have anything historical about them. But everybody, you and I, your community, your family, everybody has their own history. Everybody's life is worth documenting and sharing. It adds a major contribution to the global situation at large. So that's why I love documenting my life and have a YouTube channel, if you could not already guess, because I like sharing my life and documenting my life. And this, in a way, my YouTube, my videos is my own little video archive of my life. The other book I really liked, The Presence of the Past, Popular Uses of History in American Life by Roy Rosenzweig and David Thelen. So the authors provide survey evidence of how deeply ordinary people are engaged with the past, but at the same time are alienated from the history they have been taught in school and encounter in the media. Their findings pose an immense challenge to existing institutions, but also encourage us to imagine a cultural revolution in historical practice consistent with the best in our intellectual and democratic traditions. John Gillis, Rutgers University. Again, exploring more localized private history, you know, the people on the fringes that aren't considered worth writing history about. It looks at relationships, identity, immortality. Look, again, going back to like history is just underneath all of us, even when we're thinking of the future and planning for the future. We can't plan without knowing our past and our presence of the past. It all kind of collides together. These two books just really struck a chord with me when I was in school, and I bring a lot of what I've learned from these books and my coursework into my life, my work, and my YouTube. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not. And that kind of wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along with me for a little day in the life of being an archivist and going to visiting my alma mater and presenting and doing some exploring. And hopefully the book chat was interesting for you. Let me know what you're currently reading, because I'm always interested in what you guys are reading, or a book you recently finished and loved. Yeah, I don't know. Leave something down in the comments about books or archives. Who knows? Love to hear from you. All right, I will see you in the next one, friends. Bye!